down to, considering the with that 3 sites, with the amount of the attacking side advantage you can get with those overwhelming oppositions on the attacking side of choosing a side of the map to go to, just hitting it out right and knowing you're going to have that main advantage and knowing that it's going to take a little bit longer to rotate from the A all the way over to C rather than B makes life a little bit easier. But in terms of agent compositions that we're already starting to go underway, you can obviously see things are going to be different there as well. So a little bit of a fresh take for the audience.
Arkansas is on our left side, and the Red Hawks will be over on your right. For Arkansas, though, looks like they're going to opt for a single duelist setup, which is none too shocking here, but they're going a little bit mainstream with this one, falling back on the oh-so-standard Jet, which has been a little less prevalent in recent times, but still just a solid option. The Sova, the Astra, a Sky, and a KJ seemingly going to be their choices to be locked in as they start to trickle those picks in ever so slowly until finally just doing all of them seemingly at once as Yeshua locks in their last. The Neon has been locked in. I'm sure you and I are very satisfied with that result. Astra and Fade got the breach, and you got yourself that Cypher alongside it. So an interesting variation here between the KJ and Cypher, and as well as for our duelists. There's not a single mirror pick between these two teams except for that Astra to keep those controllers standard.
Yeah, I mean, those controllers, those are going to obviously be a big impact when it comes around to this map, but more importantly on the defensive side. On the attacking side, though, we kind of have to keep our eyes, obviously, on, more importantly, the just kind of the setup between the Jet, which is typical, and the Neon, which is a little bit more abnormal, but even then has just as much as kind of success, I would say, just across the board, considering that Neon isn't really too much of a standard pick. She's a little bit more niche, which allows players that really know how to work around her start to just be a walking highlight reel, or better yet, a running highlight reel, because she's not going to be moving as slow as everybody else, which makes her just as good as she is.
Oh, man, if you can play it well, then the game's going to go well. I think that's about what you can say it. We'll see Neon's fall apart a little bit when it comes defensively, but I honestly think Neon's one of those agents that does exceptionally well on the defense, where the fast lane allows for the team to swing in towards the back side, especially towards C. The fast lane can cut down angles and rotate as you try to move in through A-man and a flank there. There's so much potential for that Neon. It's going to be in Unit's hands to figure out how they want to play it, but at least they get to have the fun side of attack first, where your role as that duelist is a little bit more standard. Nothing's truly going to change and be that different, and as of now, you can already clear out that sin side of Garage. It's pretty good.
Yeah, you can tell. You can tell there's experience behind that play right there. I mean, even then you see teams, just, I mean, even then a lot of players kind of typically look at it, just kind of barely touch it, because that Prowler has a little bit more of a narrow visual cone than you would think. It goes very far, so it feels like it's pretty wide, but up front, it's really not. I mean, just think of like if you could see out the nostrils. It's just like, it's very, very odd of an angle that you really have to hit it from. So if you be able to clear that corner completely and just almost as smoothly as that, you know you're dealing with the real deal. You know these players know their workarounds with these agents, and they're going to be trying to sniff things out and really figure out what's going on.
Van's going to set up what little util there is remaining here in this first round over on C Long. The objective is pretty much doomed to be taken at this stage. One player direct on site, and Arkansas made a pretty swift rotate. Fire! What a 3K, make it 4! Hunting for the ace. May possibly get stolen here, but they have been spotted inside. Coming in, it's an ace in round 1 as Arkansas open this map up right from the beginning. That is just now 2 pips away from an ultimate on your Sky.
You can adapt.
I gotta visit the stars.
So it's on the defense. I mean, look at the kind of follow-up on a round like that. I mean, you're looking at not only the fact that you're seeing a player so close to their ultimate so early, but the fact they have a Vandal and full armor on round 2. And sure, we're not going to worry about utility, how much they have. They're going to kill any of this. Just don't stress about that stuff. It is just that you know you have the capability for that. You have the full armor on top of it, and that ultimate that's available, that's so close, you got a Phantom to make sure to secure it. So already it's there, you can use it, but that's only one player remaining. Just go ahead and spray him down. You know they're in the smoke, they're close. But yeah.
You can go ahead and spray him down, or you can try to push straight through the smoke. Either way, I think they only dropped a Bucky by the end of this one. Or sorry, a Shorty. in their hand. They're really wanting that kill. It's not going to be a big deal. You're exiting round 2 with 2 rifles, which is not something very many teams have the opportunity to say, especially after the performance that came in round 1. Blair, what a play. And a wonderful switch over from our observer there. Thank you very much, Bolby. Not highlighted enough. Love working with Bolby. But Arkansas, with a 2-0 start, they're pretty well prepped for this next round, I'll say, Dallas. With 2 rifles, solid SMGs. Yes, Rue is working with a Marshall, and it's not the best thing to work with. If you're defending A and you're given even the slightest chance of a body shot, you're setting things up for either a 2-tap or your teammates to close and secure. And that is important in a round where you are a theoretical and literal, in this sense, negative position when it comes to your arsenal. Bubbles, apparently, can't make the enemy eat bullets, but they eat bubbles instead.
Or make him eat dirt. I mean, you gotta have to put somebody to sleep in a situation like that. When you go ahead and get the roundabout, when you know that somebody, even then, is still in astral form. Literally, completely still. It just hurts to see situations like that unfold. But already a lot of information to go underway there on the defensive side, making sure to know that players are in A main. You know you have the guns to back it up too. And already Arkansas with a pretty good start. They just got to get the swings. They got to get these trades too. Damage done, but not enough kills to really warrant that shit.
Tyvix managing to find one assistance here from Guga. And finally, Yeshua will close out Darbs, who was sitting inside short. Solid 2v2. However, Guga's only teammate of Typix is down to little to no HP. Maybe 5 HP on the top. And that really puts the Union Redhawks in a state where they got to say, well, hey, seemed kind of nice, folks. But maybe the seaside's just a little bit more tantalizing. And they'll quickly make their way on over to go for the plant there instead. Just enough time to do so, might I add, which was unexpected for Arkansas. They have not made a rotate yet over towards that side, as they are still sitting on A. Maybe needing to watch the clock a little bit further. Once it gets to 10, maybe realizing, hey, I don't think they're hitting A. Let's go to C instead. Or B. But now they're going to be stuck in a post-plant scenario.
Well, just because you had that KG alive, even, I mean, you just leave that turret on site. And watching a little bit, kind of one of those crosses where you know they're going right through site, go ahead and hit it. But even then, when we're talking about the sites, you see Cypher just kind of sitting right on top of it. Tyvix having literally no HP, trying to stay alive for it. But you play for the trade, you know one's behind. And Guga's just looking for the setup. The aftershock to go ahead and go down. And even then, the kill to follow up. Kasi with what could be a clutch. I think that's more than enough time. And a round to go underway for Arkansas once more.
Blair, not only when entered round 3, had ultimate, use ultimate, do good, play well. Arkansas have now done an unexpected thing by actually winning 3 in a row against rifles. They exit with only 1, which is a bit of a downside. You say, hey, they got to buy more money to meet up the rest of demand, so to say. But the Union Redhawks don't have the money to meet demand. And because of that, they'll be entering this round with what I call the couch cushion guns, the ones you scrounge up in between the cushions and say, all right, folks, this is about as good as we can do. The loose change we found can only go so far. Yes, you can still win rounds like this, and we've seen it happen plenty of times, Dallas. But Arkansas have been a team that have looked really solid with the rifles in their hands, and I can only assume they'd still want to play that longer range engagement where Union Redhawks should be at a disadvantage because of the weapons in hand.
Yeah, and even then, I mean, after a round like that, you're not really concerned about funds either. I mean, you look at everybody on the side of Arkansas buying up anyways because, well, you got a 3-round not lose streak, but a win streak. So, I mean, you're going ahead, you're stacking that money again and again and again. And even on a round or on a side of the map where you don't get as many funds because you don't get that spike plant money, you're still looking to kind of get that equilibrium. Union Redhawks has a lot more on their plate now, realizing that, okay, we have to play around objective every single round, and plus we have to win out these rounds now because we are in a losing streak of 3, and in a round we're supposed to win, we kind of got choked out of. So, I mean, there is just too much going on here that doesn't look good for us. And even then more so, you kind of had that sky with a massive opening. That was the curveball that nobody ever really sees coming. But a neural theft could be the one in this one, so long as you're able to get that first blood.
It's also really important for the information to know whether or not they've rotated, where they're sitting and waiting at that moment. Neon for Tommy Gun goes in, and Yeshua has no problem closing there. Rue catches Guga, who had just taken down their teammate for the refrag. That spike seemingly now under control for the Arkansas side. Just a simple swing to close things out even further. The Union Redhawks are left with just one player left standing. It's Vayne, and Yep, well, their veins are now bleeding out profusely in the center of Long, as Arkansas will find them for the final blood and will exit that round only losing one rifle and continuing to be just fine for their eco, where the Union Redhawks finally joining them in at least somewhat of a position of full buy rifles, much like they did in round 3, hopefully this time not losing when they finally get a buy back in return.
Yeah, not really in those situations, though, where you're meeting anybody. I mean, you had the advantage. You were beating them to it in that round 3. I mean, you had more guns than your opposition, and you still wound up losing a round like that. So you have to make sure to really tighten things up here and say, look, if we're going to hit a site, we have to have a plan. We like a legitimate real-life plan. We have to execute off that, and that's fairly easy to do considering that you have 2 ultimates to back it off of. More importantly, when that actually engages to a site literally for free because it's a rolling thunder and it knocks out the entire thing. When you get a player that's isolated that can't really do too much on the front and even then gets blinded out for a second and picked off, that is your engage absolutely gone, and you have to invest that rolling thunder if you're really going to push through that smoke. But thankfully, the spike was not handed over for free on a silver platter. But all the players sitting inside Cubby on C-Long definitely could be.
Well, the attempts here from the Union Redhawks to swing in through C-Long have once again not really warranted them any success, Dallas. And I'll be really honest here. I honestly think just Arkansas right now are playing lights out in these engagements. They're isolating fights in mid, finding the first pick there. They're isolating fights in their attempts to go towards C-Long. They have a player pushing towards flanks, and even if it doesn't necessarily net them a kill, a second one can follow up behind to deal the necessary damage, and it does exactly that. Rue takes the lick back, but they stay kicking. They're alive and well, and that leads Arkansas to a 5-0 start, and the Union Redhawks are left into another thrifty scenario. I would dare say just don't buy in this round. Not a single thing.
Yeah.
And just take the loss. Maybe you'll be able to force 2 buy rounds in a row instead, and that would be a much better foothold to work from in terms of trying to find a round win finally under your belt.
Yeah, I mean, because no matter what, you're going to look at Arkansas, they got money for the rest of the round. I mean, they got money for the rest of the half, better yet. I mean, that's just something you're going to go ahead and kind of leave there. Just don't even worry about it. But Union Redhawks, even if you do win a round, you're probably going to lose some players in the meantime. That feels like it's guaranteed at this point. You cannot let that loss go ahead and set you back even more money and make your life that much worse. So already you're just going to play it slow and steady, see what kind of trades and exchanges you can get there, and suck it up and just, as you mentioned, kind of go for those 2 force rounds back to back where you have those rifles. But right now, you don't have the rifles, and even then, you don't have a first blood because Yeshua was able to go ahead and maintain that. Pick out your fade. That's information off the field. You're just looking to kind of just play off these blinds now, which can be much more difficult.
Rue's sitting in a very interesting spot, entertaining the idea of aggressing in towards Hay. A double swing by Vayne and Guga, and Rue still comes out of that net positive, equaling a 1-on-1. I.e. Bubbles is going to be forced to take a couple steps back by a relay bolt that was sent their way by Tommy Gun. Flair, he get caught, just barely noticed, but not able to be shot. In return, Typex will fall because Yashua just hits the necessary shot, leaving just 2 remaining for the Union Redhawks. Little to nothing to work with. We've seen this before. They just don't have the weapons to go. Tommy, though, has got the shot, but they're now by themselves as Guga has been felled from the side. Flair, blinded. It does allow Tommy Gun to survive just 1 second longer, but it's just not enough. As Arkansas now rise to 6-0, already reaching the halfway point of this half.
Is that point to where the confidence isn't just a mental thing anymore? It actually creates physical results. When you see the defense of Arkansas on this map of Haven, where typically the defense doesn't look all that hot, now becoming the attackers, pushing into spawn because Union is just giving them so much respect and all the space in the world to be taking this game by storm. It's a very, very difficult thing to watch unfold, and even then, you have to look for a round like this, because now with that 6 guaranteed, no matter what, I mean, you were looking at a tie half. If you close your eyes off or go take a nap, do whatever you got to do, I mean, past this point, you have to lock things down. You have to look for at least 1. Let's talk about it again and again. 3 is the bare minimum, and with the Gaza Divide set up, going ahead, stalling a little bit towards that A site, it's fought by Arkansas, so you know that the push is going to be coming there to A eventually. They have the information, but you can better be smarter than that and just not push through yet.
Flair's going to send a guiding light through the Cosmic Divide. This one placed by the defense of Arkansas. This is a great way to buy a little bit of extra time and also be able to position safely should you want to rotate players over there to be a bit more direct in their defense. The 2 players they sent that way, the Jet and Sky, have maybe decided, oh, there's not enough information there. We didn't get enough intel off of it. They haven't swung or shown anything just yet. So let's go ahead and rotate the other way. And they go towards B instead. But they do get a little bit of insight. However, the
Spike
fight still
down
ultimately
A.
brews up on A long, where Vayne does take down Rue, but Kasi up in heaven finds the refrag back. Stun goes out. Kasi is a little bit worse for Rare off the back of it, but that does force Arkansas to send their
30
two
seconds
rotating
left.
players, as Sky and Jet, back over to A. But little did she know, once again, the Union Redhawks have done a bait and switch, and they've rotated back through attacker spawn
Face
and
your
on over
fear.
towards C, as well as a little bit towards B. Nightfall goes out. Fast lane comes through as well. In a typical default
seconds
plant
left.
position, they want them a post-plant scenario, but a dangerous one as they have to pop the Neon ult to go for it. Palpatine comes true, and the dark side has warranted them now 2 kills in a row.
You're just going to find these exchanges. I mean, even then, these two ultimates that are being popped on the field, you're going to see these two weapons going their way. This is supposed to be that power creep we could see unfold with that overdrive and that blade storm. But patience is the one thing that blade storm has the luxury of having, but not with that spike underway. That thing is ticking down. You know players are going to be swinging on you, and you have to work for that clock. And even then, Arkansas is making sure to work their way around the back. Can't really get that angle as Tommy Gunn's able to do it. And even damn Bubbles coming out with one, but an immediate trade there by Darbs. Good picks there by Union, a nice little play around the map, utilizing the entire field and not just narrowing down on one point. And Arkansas, over-investing in that round, probably just feel like a little bit of a sass to go ahead and show the amount of establishment they've had so far, but really mind the dust for it because those could have been some nice little fallbacks to make sure to compensate for the guns in this one.
Let's also keep in mind here that in a round like that, Arkansas are already in a state where they have had their guns been bled dry quite a bit in these few rounds. They're not been going out and exiting with 5 players, all flawless, with 4 players, majority up. They've had to buy util every round because they're using a ton. They've had to buy weapons when they inevitably do die because Union Redhawks have been putting up a good fight in a lot of ways. So they're not in the best of economic positions, especially now coming into the next round where the previous one they bought an operator, a hefty price to pay. And they don't even get to keep it there at the end, which is quite unfortunate to say the least. And in fact, I believe it was picked up there. Bars was trying to decide whether or not they needed to do so. Talking with the team before deciding that, hey, this may be the right idea. Tommy will be wielding it, and they'll use it against the original owner, so to say, of IE Bubbles, and allow for Arkansas now at a man disadvantage, something they have not truly faced without a refrag fairly quick behind since, I don't know, ever. That may exactly be the case, because the Union Redhawks now get to choose and pick where they want to go. Thomas has been spotted inside courtyard, hiding over towards Rabbit. Yeshua, firefight ensuing down long. Vayne with a little bit of assistance, taking down one over towards the side of mid. And it is Arkansas and a very tumultuous game, struggling to find the right spot to pivot from, and Arkansas are bleeding players left and right, which is 2 more remaining.
Yeah, it's just those points where you see, I mean, the operator is the one gun that can actually punish confidence. And you just saw plenty of it from Arkansas again and again and again and again. And now finally going ahead and kind of biting it a little bit. I mean, they've gotten themselves 6, but I mean, if 2 back-to-back kind of go like this, where you see the first one be a little bit of a cave-in and an over-expenditure of those ultimates, and now just players pushing out, expecting they can fight that operator. Maybe it was a lack of knowledge, at least on that first blood, to know that the operator was picked up. But after that point, it's all the kill feed. The information's been given away. You know what you're up against. You can't let this thing go ahead and knock you down. And that's exactly what it's done. This is the last buy round available here for Arkansas. And even then, it's a little bit scrappy to where they may even feel like they don't need to buy because they want to keep themselves on the same page.
A scrappy game so far. Still 4 more rounds to go through in this half. And Arkansas are looking at 3 ultimates, but their doppelganger side are doing the exact same thing. Causing a divide is up for the Union Redhawks, and that should put them in a really nice spot for a post plant, maybe to cut an objective in twain. They've taken down Bubbles. That's the Jet. That's 1 and a man advantage once again. And every time we've seen the Union Redhawks gain an early man advantage and contain and hold on to it, they have ultimately used that as a way to trickle the rest of the round in their favor. Bubbles being dead here means they can't rotate and be that pivot player from B to C and B to A, vice versa. But they do still have the Sova to kind of assist, and they're going to give up the majority of that A site to play for the retake instead. I've said it multiple times. I'll say it a million times, Dallas. A is the most retakeable objective in all of Valorant. But in a man disadvantage and ultimates down, things become a little bit more difficult. But Yeshua, 2 No! Denying the damage from the Hunter's Fury and still finding a positive way to work from. Oh, until Typix finds that instead.
And you're just seeing once again these ultimates that were used to flood earlier, going ahead and overused 2 rounds ago before we saw that streak to go underway. Finally using an optimal time, I would say, for Arkansas for a retake when you're on defense. So good ideas by them starting to come their way to say that, you know what, we're the team of the league. Let's start acting like it again, and let's get ourselves one more round to get back on the board. And that operator that you got earlier, well, we'll be taking that back. Thank you very much. So Union Redhawks, I'm happy for them. They found a couple of rounds on the board. They know that gods can bleed, and they know this game is indeed feasible. But they have to actually work around the map. They have to utilize the space. They know they have to get these kills. They have to find openings and manipulate those. That this game isn't going to be free for them by any means necessary. And that scoreboard should already be a very quick wake-up call to let them know that.
Well, whether or not they face the alarm bells of that wake-up call or they sleep straight through and press snooze a few too many times, we'll have to tell. And ultimately, for Arkansas right now, they're sitting in a really good spot. They reached 6 immediately on a 6-0 start. They've now climbed ahead to 7. They're positive guarantee by the end of this half. 2 more rounds to work from, and they could say, hey, well, we're still sitting pretty. 8-4, 9-4, 9-3, whatever the scoreline comes out. Either way, Arkansas are happy with the result they've gotten here in this half, but I'm sure the thirst for that win is ever present. Typix swings inside mid-window, just trying to get a bit of information. Bubble's a little bit slow in the draw, and because of that, they will lose out on that engagement. A bad spot for Kossi to be within. You're not a Jet. You have no way to escape from that cubby. Not the right angle to play from, and they'll lose their life. And with no trade back, the Union Redhawks have a theoretical advantage right off the get-go.
Just really got to get these situations underway. I mean, with that spike not being down yet, but yet you're looking for control of the map. You're just holding things out. And a little bit of a standstill. You are a controller pushing up the map. And if you die, you give that spike over literally on a silver platter for free to eat up. So there it is. A neural theft coming out in a 1v3 situation. Typix, you popped it. Let's sure hope you get your value out of it.
Typix doing everything they can, Dallas. It is a very dangerous spot to work from. A baiting with bubbles with an operator. A costly one if it failed against them, but they still don't find the kill, and that will allow for Flair to swing from that backside to get it instead. 8-2. With 2 more rounds left to go, Arkansas could reach double digits. And let's go ahead and take a look at a sneak peek of maybe what the Union Redhawks will be bringing here in this round. It's not much. Cross your eyes and maybe squint a little bit, you'll maybe say, hey, they got proper rifles. But only one of them does. They're trying to even the economy across the team, trying to make sure everyone's on the same exact page. But the problem is they're running out of rounds to play correctly. They're running out of rounds to try to scrape something by. So coming into this one, they've got an eco and a very disjointed one at that, and that's just not where you want to be sitting.
Yeah, you definitely don't, but I mean, finally, being able to go ahead and at least get that first blood. I mean, with the Guardian moving towards the seaside and no real influence towards that part of the map yet, you see a very, very good standstill here on the map. I mean, you see him just kind of going and holding things out, saying, honestly, we entrust C to that Jet. Don't do anything, don't over-rotate, don't do anything off that first blood. Still play it steady, push for the site, and then work off the information that we have. Or better yet, create one of our own. We know that, sure, there's an alarm bot at A. We know that utils usually set up there, but we have a whole player. We have an entire control of the site. We have made the call now to get on this site, push up, and get this spike down, and start this countdown to work towards our advantage. But Tommy Gunn overextends a little bit, can't play towards that spawn, and gets absolutely blinded out. But Typix is able to do that too, but with the bullet to the head.
Typix 2-for-1 special. Now just needs to continue to do exactly that. No ultimates available for either side. Kossi's hiding within the astral smoke. They swing now. This could be the best chance possible to find it. Flair isolates Guga and Hell and sends them there, but Flair's now isolated 1v1. Bane gets the last shot necessary through the Radiant Knight crates, and they'll cut through to find themselves a much needed round. We've called it. 3 is the minimum you need to work with, and they've reached it. And in a round where, I'll be honest, I slightly threw them under a bus. They didn't enter it with much, but they exit it with the best case scenario.
Yes, just got to do something here. I mean, even then, and that was just enough to get it done. Union Redhawks getting their 3rd round here. I always say that's the minimum you have to work with, but on the attacking side, that's where the concern starts to set in. So, I mean, 4, Now, that'd be pretty good. I genuinely feel that. But, I mean, Arkansas, though, being on the attacking side on this next half, that's where a lot of my concerns start to root from, because we've already seen Jet really starting to warm up here with this operator as they're supposed to. Yeshua being almost nearly as good as a sniper as Jet, but with nothing but a marshal in hand 90% of the time, winning against rifles, winning against operators. I mean, you name the game, they're going to win it. But even then, your Sky being an absolute menace, just holding it out as slow as possible. Bubbles could have had a free pick there through the wall, but sadly enough, didn't get the right little angle. But speaking of angles, you're just kind of giving them away, just picking to the middle of the map, as Yeshua wants to fight that so badly.
Bubbles has been, to be brutally honest here, not solid with the operator here inside B, holding for that sniper angle. And because of that, look at how this entire round has changed its dynamic. Arkansas had a man advantage. They had 4 different opportunities to find a kill with Bubbles. And now Arkansas is a 1v4. And it's Kasi to do so. Kasi is quite solid. But when you just get spotted instantly from Darbs, who sees you once the smoke dissipates, that's it. Game over. Halftime over at the very least. And it'll be the Union Redhawks to at least reach 4. Same scoreline we saw at the end of last half in our last matchup. Just a game before Dallas. 8-4 at halftime. The team that went 8-4, they ended up winning it. So if Arkansas can conclude that, maybe the same story we can see unfold.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, even though, I mean, overall, you got to look at the start that we're going to get. I mean, not just the pistol round, the one following, but even then better yet, the third round will be the biggest teller of this game and where things start to go. Because when we saw it in this half, Arkansas winning that third round, I mean, playing it back to back to back, having a disadvantage, and still coming out with a win on the round, that's something that you really just can't ask for too much. And that's something that's just not given to you. It has to be somewhat of a blessing, or it has to be a massive setback from the aggression on the other opposing side. But a very good start, I'd say, there from the side of Union Redhawks. A nice little plan to go underway and some good damage on the back of it, but an even trade at the end of the day with a little bit of extra damage there, really, I'd say, benefiting Union a little bit. But problem is, you got to get these rotations underway, and Rouge just waiting for it.
Ruse in a perfect spot to continue to dish out the hurt, but they will need to swing in towards sight. Typex has still not been dealt with. Nobody's cleared this back angle of sight. What's going on? How does that get away with it?
Okay.
And the only player to kill it is a turret. I'm amazed. Honestly, that's just amazing at that point. Can't even be angry. It's just a genuine moment of awe. Either way, Arkansas have a man advantage. Darbs will toss out a haunt. That took the weirdest textured angle I've ever seen in my life. Either way, no one holding that direction, so it doesn't do much for them. One player in Cubby, that's Kasi, who lops their head off their shoulder, and it's just Vayne. Now left standing, a frenzy in their hand, thinking they can win in a 1v3, maybe Vayne of themselves, but unfortunately, the only thing there of themselves is death. As Arkansas conclude that one and now go 9-4, taking the pistol and probably the bonus to reach double digits.
You typically can win a pistol, but especially in a 1v3, but you just kind of have a ghost right there. I mean, you can't really do that with a frenzy, considering the spray patterns, even then on that C site, the actual most open site here on the map of Haven, it makes things really difficult to win those rounds like that. So already, even then, you mentioned the guns underway, you mentioned the force, you mentioned the fact that, I mean, you're probably winning the second round. And even then, better yet, you probably, as Arkansas, knowing the kind of stance of this team, you're maybe expecting a little bit of a force come out from the side of Union Redhawks. That means they've just bought up that much more and said, you know, we want to guarantee this thing. And the next one, they're going to be definitively broke if they don't end up winning this.
Tommy Gun holding quite close to short. Just trying to keep Arkansas at bay. Doesn't seem to matter too much, though. Yashua Squeen takes down Darbs, and Tommy Gun will finally clean up Claire, who's working from that short side. Tommy Gun will fall, doesn't really have a great weapon to work with, and the hip fire from Guga goes nowhere. And then within a few milliseconds, it seems, of each, the last 3 will fall of the Union Redhawks, and Arkansas will, like previously foretold, inevitably reach that finite conclusion of taking that one and going to 10. They're just 3 rounds away, Dallas, from closing us out here in this best-of-1 series and putting the Arkansas Connection side above the Union Redhawks. Just flat, plain and simple. They've just had a better game so far. The Union Redhawks need to have a really solid defense.
Yeah, you just got to look to see what exactly you can do in terms of a point like this. And problem is, when Union, the one thing holding you back for the most part isn't really the bloods or really the kills. It's just your money. That's the one opponent you can't fight. is your own wallet. I mean, you can kind of go ahead and help it out. I mean, or you can make sure to really just kind of show it who's boss. But problem is, I mean, there is no cooperating with it. It either works or it doesn't. And there it is. You can already go ahead and getting themselves a first blood, which is really nice, I'd say, with that judge in hand. But you got to make sure to watch that rifle, as much as I hate to say it there for the side of Arkansas. You cannot give anything over, even if it is just a bulldog or whatnot. You cannot let that fall into the wrong hands, considering that Union, they're looking to get scratchy on these things. They're scraping the bottom of the barrel, but you never know what kind of diamonds in the rough you could find down there.
Well, whether or not the barrel gives them any sort of, I don't know, unexpected boons, the gold that's been left at the bottom, time will have to tell. For Arkansas, though, they've already scraped one player off the board, and unfortunately, it's their teammate. Bubbles will try to peek towards long ramp. No one in heaven for the Union Redhawks. That doesn't mean no one's there on site. One holding back behind the Central Ready Knights. Another one holding that top of
30
short.
seconds left.
It's Tommy Gun trying to do the exact same thing they did just last round. But with the unexpected resolve of the Union Redhawks there on A, the Arkansas Connections Academy says, hey, maybe C is the better fit for our playstyle. They'll swing here towards long. Darb's the only defender there. Marshall shots do connect, doing a little bit of damage, but
10
eventually
seconds
Darbs will be forced to fall off, and Arkansas will be allowed to get the plant, but they do give up a life in the process.
Yeah, just got to make sure to get things done here. I mean, obviously, look at Arkansas. They got to go ahead and just hold this thing out. You can have themselves a chance of a lifetime to get this turkey round to work with. Tommy Gun, you know you have a shot. You got some damage off there. And Costi is in a very, very, very bad spot, knowing that this round feels inevitably lost. But it's okay because, well, you still got a little bit of money. You still got to buy, at least for some of your players in the next round. But problem is, the biggest thing I'm looking at is that scoreboard. Sure, a lot of people are singing 10-5, but what I'm seeing is history in the making once again, because it feels like 9 times out of 10, if something like this happens where you see 2 rounds lost on the back of double digits starts here for one squad, it doesn't matter what side of the map they're on. It doesn't matter 9, 3, 10, 2, whatever it may be. Sometimes you see these games start to tie up a little bit, and that's why I call it a choke point or check hold when it gets, or checkpoint choke hold situation. Yeah, we'll get there to go ahead and show what Arkansas is really made of if they can get past this and really just show it's nothing but another way.
We're human too.
It's been a long day.
Has it been a long day?
Well, I mean, this isn't really a podcast of my life. It's just more just a little context on the words, or the lack thereof.
It's been a long day. As we're in our second map here, this series. Technically our second series. We'll say it like that. It sounds more impressive for those of you who maybe don't realize it is a best of one. Just ignore the middle of your screen for our overlay in the top. Either way. Union Redhawks, they have proper weapons here. Arkansas don't have the luxury of saying so, and because of that ruined flare are obliterated by Darbs with their Phantom. Bubbles doing everything they can to rotate as fast as they can, but it may be too little too late. The damage has been done. They'll swing in through mid-window. Vayne holding in Rabbit. Let Bubbles pass through first, sprays them down and follows through with Yeshua. It's just Costi remaining.
Hello.
It's an eco round. We can't dig on it too much here, Dan.
Yep.
But it is a round nonetheless where not a single weapon was lost for the Union Redhawks, which means the money stays in the wallet.
Yeah, it's not the fact that it's an eco round, as you mentioned to me. It's just the fact it's a flawless. So you're expecting at least, I mean, if all 5 of us rush one guy, surely we kill them, right? Or we give an ace over, and I mean, that's okay. They just get a clip out of it. But I mean, we only give that money to one person, and even then, only that one person is getting shares of their ultimate. So at the end of the day, we're actually kind of winning in a situation like that. You didn't see it. Instead, I mean, Arkansas just going ahead, playing it slow and steady, seeing if they can kind of squeeze by into the back lines, which I can give a lot of respect to. Don't get me wrong. You just got to make sure to see it really first work there, or even then go ahead and start to feel a little bit comfortable. And there it is. Arkansas once again finally going ahead and maintaining at least their first blood here for a while. And even then a second one right behind it. A very, very first comfortable picks with no damage traded, even though they were the ones just getting ratted out.
Well, the rats have found the cheese, Dallas. They have found their targets, and they are doing it not so well. Couple problems to be brewed up. Flare, though, on site, holding a good position. It's a post plan for Arkansas, and on this attack, they're at least happier than they've possibly been for a while. Darb sends a haunt over the top, falls perfectly to that back corner, but it's cleared away fairly quickly. There goes a quick use of the stun. Union Redhawks, they're running out of time to push. They've got to extend
Yeah.
quickly. So much util is
Could be
still
right
being
now.
dumped, but you're still not solving the
GG.
core problem. Spike is down. 5 players are alive, and you have to defuse. Too little, too late. Everyone will fall. You get 3 kills, make it 4, but that's it. Arkansas will now reach 11.
It was that point. I mean, I didn't want to cut you off. I didn't want to be a little bit sounding like I'm rude there in the background. But I mean, there is a threshold, as you mentioned, to where you have to go for that spike. And the push didn't even start by the time when you were required to hold that 4 button on the spike. So, I mean, knowing that timing, just literally waiting out until the very last second and just looking for exit frags, at that point, you have to be playing for exit frags. You should not be sitting up at a smoke. If you hear that spike counting down to that much, you back up and you just give the props of the game, because if you stall it somehow and win that round, well, then Riot's going to have to get involved in this matchup because something is not going on correctly.
Something's not working.
Exactly. Something's not working, or something else
Someone's got
is
an
working a little
Riot.
too well. And it's only working in my PC, nobody else's. So, I mean, you got to look at points like that and really just start to reflect a little bit. And we can see that coming out from the side of Arkansas, oddly enough. Going ahead, kind of taking that time, maybe a little bit of break, a breather to say, look, things are feeling a little bit exhausted. The strat book has now not really reached the end yet, but we're starting to run a little bit thin to where they are kind of feeling out a couple of these plays. They have seen a couple of these initial kills go underway, and they're getting the first peaks. They're just missing the first blood. So I think Arkansas is trying to figure out that to see exactly in terms of an execution on the site for this one, because so long as they guarantee this 12th, they're fine in peachy at least for an overtime, but they got to look at 6 rounds before that.
Check him PC. He's good, but this not normally. This very, very insane. I don't know if you know that old Twitch chat, copy pop. It's in a lot of ECT streams as well. But if that did work out for them, it would be a check him PC, this not normally moment. Bubbles!
It's not normal.
Not normal! Got that dog in him. I don't know how a dog sustains themselves purely on Bubbles. That's basically just soap. Either way, it's Bubbles that has been carrying Arkansas in this round. Now in a one-on-one. 3 kills already in the name. It will be required for a 4K, but Mark, the toss over the top has caught them off guard. And now Bubbles is, well, in a bit of a tough spot.
Running.
They've squeaked the spike, though. That's honestly impressive. I'm shocked. And they're going to take that sweet old thing straight over to that A site and get that plant down. Away from Barbs and away from the dangers that could come their way. But let's also keep in mind, Barbs is down to 30 HP. Bubbles is at least good enough to hit that shot. They don't have an operator in their hand. They'll connect with a rifle. Maybe not so much if it was a sniper. But they've even taken up the A heaven position. This one really solid to work from. The Nightfall goes down, and Bubbles is able to take a couple steps back. What a great way to play this one. Bubbles maybe with a little bit of intel sees them, and it's over. 4K. Perfect play for Arkansas, and Bubbles saves the day as they reach match point.
I was thinking, like, okay, you set it up there towards the back of sight. You go ahead and push right there into spawn. You watch the cross from spawn, get shots there, and even then they're concerned about that 24/7. You can play for that bait, but even then, I mean, that is a lot of variables. But every single one of them in a situation like that, where it's a world of possibilities, everything lines up perfectly for you. And even then, off the top of it, you're saying, an ultimate too? Why, of course I'll take that off your hands. I mean, it is just perfect of a setup there to where everything just ends up working out for you. So Arkansas, even then, another round to go underway to help them out. A win streak off the back of their team. And again and again and again, they have a purchase to work with. But already Bubbles going ahead and saying, okay, after that last round, sure, things are perfect. I'm going to drop my gun. I got a blaze storm. They're buying up something over there on the reunion side. And they have 2 ultimates on the back of it. But they have to have player presence behind it. So if we hit them fast enough, they're not ever going to get the chance to even retaliate with any of it.
That aggression needs to be assisted. However, Drew and Flair, who were next to each other, just didn't find success off the back of it. Typix now with 2 of their own. Yeshua only able to find 1 kill before falling, and it is a 2v4. You can pray for a lot of scenarios, but this one seems like something impossible. Tommy gathers intel from up above in heaven. Kossi will die in the process. Bubbles needs to pull off the unprobable and it will be denied quickly with Tommy Gun, a 3K to close. Union Redhawks now climb to 7. Still 5 rounds to catch them up to OT, but they're off on the right foot. Punish Arkansas quickly, because when they try to make that decision to go, they tend to not look every direction and clear their corners, and that's where the Union Redhawks tend to pounce.
You can shift walk wherever you want, but the spikes at their toenails right now. Like, there's no sneaking that out literally from under their nose. I mean, that's not something that's going to happen. Regardless, though, I mean, still 5 rounds to go underway. Arkansas has built themselves an exorbitant lead when it came around to starting on this half, and even then, a better yet way to just go ahead and kind of topple it off, considering the kind of start they had with those first 2 rounds. So it's good starts for them, but not as good of a follow-up, considering that when you see these first 2 blows going over the side of the Union Redhawks, and to get another round where you have a learning lesson to know kind of what's going on around this mountain. What are these players doing? Well, they're holding corners, watching each other's backs. They aren't swinging off of it. It's weird, but hey, it's
One enemy remaining.
You can play refrags at this point, though, right? Like, you've got such a huge man advantage. Just play refrags. That's exactly what the Red Hawks are doing. And Arkansas are falling victim to it at every single turn. Kasi, you're not one and done here. You got to keep the gun out. Maybe a little too fascinated with the knife. They'll pull it out and pay the price, as the Arkansas side will acquiesce yet another round win over towards the Red Hawks. They're this close, Dallas, to closing out Haven and finding themselves the victor here. But they just haven't been able to find that one key thing that gives them the edge necessary to win. Trying now, maybe C Long's the play. There's at least 2 players holding that. They're going to look like they're going to play aggressive here. This could be where the Arkansas punishes the Red Hawks.
You are divided.
Yeah, it's something that's just really looking a little bit odd and unfortunate for Arkansas, but I mean, even then, check this corner. What?
Check your PC.
Players'
this not
DPI
normally.
is something different. We have seen so many flicks from Flare specifically in this game. Like, their DPI is just something different.
I'm amazed. Like, that is a ridiculous play. To do the quite literal double take. Oh my goodness. Flare, what a player. This not normally. Check him PC. That's a copy pasta. We don't actually have to check him PC. Arkansas, though, having the man advantage off the initial play, will need to be quite worried for the ultimates. Tommy Gunn with the first and falling in for a second. Player still alive, though. Able to find another of their own. Tommy Gunn wants to swing forward. Hunter's Fury is out. Tommy will deny its last hit. But Google will start the defuse. The Cosmic Divide's down. They've got to push. You got to go through this. You can't stop here. What?
Oh!
Time! Not enough in Arkansas. What just happened?